What up, mathletes? Let's do this. All right, it's 814. And guess what our EQ is today? But for a different reason. Today we're going to say, how can I factor completely? How can I factor it completely? Same as last time, but for a totally different reason. So just for yesterday, right, you need to go ahead, identify your A, B, and C, and factor this completely. Ready, set, go. You guys got this. You know where to put stuff. First, last term. Where to put the middle term, how to find the top term. You know all that good stuff. Why don't you guys take a minute? Make sure you have this all the way down. Give you about another minute or so to work on it. I don't want to fry your brains too much. And it's the end of my day where I've been working on math all day, so my brain's like, you know, it's on math firing pins right now. It's like when you've been playing the game for a while, you're in the zone. I'm in the math zone. So my brain thinks everything's moving super fast, you know. And I'm well caffeinated, so excuse me. Okay, so let's see how you did. Boom, right there. Look at that. 3x plus 4 times 3x minus 4. Because what is that? We're missing the 0x, the bx term, right? So it's 0x. So it's 9, 0, negative 16. So you put my 9x squared, my negative 16 diagonal, and then bottom is 0x. Multiply those together, and I get negative 144x squared, which works out to negative 12x times positive 12x. Those will add to be 0. Plug them in, factor out, and there we go. All right. I want to define common factor. This is a number or variable that is shared by all terms in an expression. Shared by all terms in an expression. So a number or variable that is shared by all terms in an expression. So for example, let's look at the expression 4x plus 20x squared. Well, both terms have a 4. A 4 is a factor, And both terms have an x as a factor or in common. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean this factors 2 so if they have a 4 and an x in common, I can pull a 4x out. What am I going to multiply that by? Well, if I pull 4x out of 4x, I'm just left with 1. If I pull a 4 out of 20, I'm left with 5, and an x out of x squared, I'm left with x. Look at that. That's the factored version of it. Take a moment, make sure you have that totally written down. Okay, so now what do we got? Well, let's look down here. We are going to identify the common factors and then use the generic rectangle to factor completely. Okay? So let's look at this first one. 5x squared plus 15x minus 20. What do we got here? What's the common factor? 5x squared plus 15x minus 20 all have in common? They all have a 5 in common. So this can be rewritten as 5 times x squared plus 3x minus 4. Because 5 divided by 5, when I take that 5 out, it's just a 1x squared. 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. Everybody see that? So now what are we going to do? We're only going to factor the inside. So on this product here, though, we can't forget that 5 is going to be part of the product. So we need to come down here and write 5. And now I'm going to factor the inside. So x squared minus 4, 3x. And what's negative 4 times x squared is negative 4x squared. If I need a negative up here but positive down here, that means I'm going to multiply a negative times a positive, and I need the positive to be bigger. So what can I do? Well, I'm going to do negative 1x times positive 4x. And look at that. 4x minus 1x is 3x, and 4x times negative 1x is negative 4x squared. So all right, let's do this. 4x negative, and instead of 1x, it's just negative x. It's the same thing. You can put 1 if it makes you feel better. And what can I factor out of here? Well, a 4 and an x, and then what times x is negative x? Negative 1. And then x times x is x squared. Look at that. So it's 5 times x minus 1, x plus 4. Boom. We're going to keep carrying on like this. But our next one's a little more interesting, right? Because I have 3x cubed minus 6x squared minus 45x. So what are they all in common? Well, 3, 6, and 45 all have a 3 in common. And x cubed, x squared, and x all have an x in common. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3x times, when I take a 3x out of there, I'm just left with x squared minus 2x minus, what's 45 divided by 3? It's just 15 because x divided by x is 1. So now, right away, I need to take this and put it as part of my product. And I always start the parentheses there so I know we're going to start with something. And then let's factor the inside. X squared minus 15 minus 2x. And this makes it much easier to factor, by the way. And in this case, even possible, because that would have been a cubic problem. So I have negative 15x squared up top by multiplying these two. And what can I multiply to get negative 15? So one has to be positive, one has to be negative. But clearly, the negative is going to be bigger to get a negative down here. Well, let's see. 1 and 15, no, that doesn't work. How about 3 and 5? Yeah. As long as the 5 is negative, Negative 5x plus 3x is negative 2x, and those multiply to be negative 15x squared. So let's write it in. Negative 5x, 3x. Pull a negative 5 out, pull an x out, times 3x, and boom. I'm left with x plus 3 times x minus 5. Okay. At any point you need to pause this, that's okay. I have to go kind of quick because I have less class time than I used to, and so kind of got to scoot through this a little bit, but we're going to get there. So let's look. This one, I have two things going on. Number one, I'm missing a term, right? So the other thing is, oh, excuse me. They have something in common. So what do they have in common? They have a 2 in common. So when I write that down, I need to rewrite that as 2 times x squared. And I missed my bx term, so I'm actually going to write in plus 0x. And then minus, what's 50 divided by 2? It's 25. Because remember, I pulled a 2 out. So let's again write this product right there, or that factor right there. And let's factor the inside. X squared minus 25, 0x minus 25, x squared. And why don't you guys go ahead and take a minute and solve that. If you finish with this instead of waiting, go ahead and move on to the next one. Give it just a few more seconds, get this rolling. What do you got here? Well, set it up, x squared, negative 25. So 0, and then it's negative 25x squared up here. Negative 5x times 5x makes that happen. Plug it in, factor them out, and I end up with 2 times x plus 5 times x minus 5. Oh, excuse me. All right. I want you guys to take a minute, see if you can find out what's the common factor, rewrite it. Make sure to put that, remember, we got to always, when we rewrite it and get that common factor out, we always got to write it down here. And then factor the inside. Go ahead, do the whole thing. Ready, set, go. Excuse me. Right, just a little bit longer, guys. let's see how we did. Let's take a minute. Guys are making some big steps. I like these problem solving problems, though. Oh, excuse me. All right, let's see how we did. And you can factor a y out. We're left with x squared minus 3x minus 10. So, I put in my x squared, my minus 10, my minus 3x. This multiplies out to minus 10x squared. I see how that's quickly, because that should just be habit at this point for you guys. We've done enough of these. Negative 5x times 2x will get me a negative 10x squared and add up to be negative 3x. Factor stuff out, I am left with, don't forget, you always got to pull this down. Y times x plus 2 times x minus 5. And that is how we factor completely. Awesome. I haven't been doing this, but maybe I should zoom out and just leave this up for you guys to make sure you take notes. If we have time for homework, great. I doubt we have much. But feel free to make sure you have this all written down. You can pause it if needs be. With that said, peace out.